The date was November the 6th, 2020, and King Von decided to make a decision that would end his life and in the process ruin the lives of several others. So after the fallout of the OTF and 4KJ beef, I'm sure you're wondering, where are they now? Starting with King Von, well, he's in hell. He is definitely in hell. Now onto the video. It's sad to say, but none of the men involved in the story had a happy ending, starting with the guys who died alongside King Von. Now when you think of the beef, I'm sure the only names that you think of are King Von, Lil Durk, Youngboy, and Quando Rondo. While these four men did make the beef famous, they weren't the only guys involved. For context, King Von wasn't the only man that died that night, as his close friend Sleddy also got hit. After Von was shot by Lil Tim, Mark Blackley, aka Slutty, tried to shoot back and defend his fallen friend, but sadly, he failed and lost his life in the process as the police who were at the scene fired at him, ending his life on the spot. He wasn't the only friend of King Von who got hit that day, as another O-Block member by the name Louis caught a bullet to the head. After King Von was left lifeless on the ground, Quando Rondo and his buddy Lil Tim tried to flee the scene. That's when O-Block Louis fired several shots at Lil Tim in retaliation. That's when one of the off-duty police officers shot Louis, putting a bullet to his head. Now, after suffering such a serious injury, it looked like his fate was sealed and he was on his way to meet the Lord. But somehow, miraculously, O-Block Louis survived the shooting. But his life was never the same, as he suffered tremendous brain damage that left his head all swollen up. And this was probably due to the fact that he needed to get 10 surgeries to remain alive.
So you have 2 operations, you come out the coma, and then over the next few months you have 8 more surgeries?
Yeah, it's just been rough, but what can I say? Once again, I'm here, I'm talking. Evidently, it ain't my time.
During the same interview, Louis confessed that his shooting was all for nothing because King Von just overreacted.
Wasn't about nothing.
Wasn't about nothing. Like, seriously, I could imagine if, like, I don't know, someone had stolen millions of dollars or someone had killed your mother or sister or something where it's like, all right, like we really have to take care of this.
Louis didn't hold any grudges though, as he tried to focus on being optimistic and getting back into shape since he was given a second chance.
Like I say, even if it don't go down, man, you just gotta be happy to be here and go on with your life, man. That's it.
Sadly though, his dreams would be cut short as months after this, Louis was arrested. 4 years after the fact, he was charged with the attempted murder of Lil Tim since he fired retaliatory shots at him. This was quite ironic since Lil Tim was actually let go for shooting King Von, claiming that he was defending his friend. Yet Louis got charged for doing the exact same thing. Sadly though, Louis never got to use this argument in court, as in early February this year, he was found dead in his jail cell. Because of his condition, Louis needed constant care, which he obviously failed to get in prison. And with the American correctional system being so neglectful, it was clear from day one that Louis never stood a chance considering his condition. For example, his injury was so bad that at one point, he needed to get a helmet just so he didn't hit his head the wrong way. As of now, there have been no signs of foul play, and it looks like Louis lost his life due to the injury he obtained in the 2020 shooting. But hopefully, he has finally found peace. Louis, though, wasn't the only man who got shot by police that night, as after firing several shots at King Von, Lil Tim would also be shot by the police, catching a bullet to his backside.
There were off-duty cops in the area, and they start shooting.
Right.
You end up getting shot twice?
Right.
Well, what parts of the body?
I get shot in my right hip bone, and I get shot on my ass. It go in and out though.
And if you're looking for it, footage still exists of a desperate Quando Rondo transporting his injured friend to the hospital.
Come on, he's shot. Come on, bit, bro, you got this shit, dog. Come on, cuz, just keep breathing, bit, bro. Come on. Just keep breathing, cuz.
Hold on, you can't move on that thing.
You got it, man.
As soon as he recovered, Lil Tim was arrested and charged with the murder of King Von. 5 months after being locked up though, he managed to pay a $100,000 bond, likely due to his connections with NBA Youngboy. While he was on house arrest, Tim decided to keep himself busy by rapping. Because of all the clout that he got from shooting King Von, everybody wanted to hear just what he had to say.
Check the new pussy nigga off the list. Quick to gun you down with
Now obviously, Tim wasn't as good as a rapper as King Von, Durk, Youngboy, or even Quando. That's why when the hype finally died down, nobody really gave a shit about him. And that's when his music started to tank dramatically. And with his lack of hits, it was obvious that he wasn't making any money off of his music. That's why he got clowned on social media after he confessed that if he wants money, he would have to ask Youngboy or Quando for help.
I could get 100 right now, face credit. Nigga, this is called dough, nigga. It's called top, nigga.
Whilst his career was suffering, Tim did manage to receive some good news, as he was found not guilty for the death of King Von, claiming self-defense. This ruling by the court fueled the beef even more, as Lil Durk's team was out for blood. But in an attempt to show that he wasn't hiding, Tim would post a video of himself outside.
Really be out solo, you know, fat line, by myself. You know, I be out solo.
But little did Tim know, he wasn't the target. Quando was. During the time King Von got killed, he and Lil Durk were part of an assault case that forbid them from being together, meaning during Von's final days, he wasn't allowed to spend time with his best friend. This obviously made his pain a lot more severe. That's why, as you all know now, he started beefing with Quando Rondo and his label boss, NBA Youngboy. The beef was mostly music related, but since King Von's blood was shed, they obviously had to take their rivalry to the streets. Allegedly for Lil Durk, dissing his ops wasn't enough. He wanted blood, and he wanted it quickly. That's why he put a hit with Quando Rondo's name on it. One of Durk's affiliates, and this is all still alleged by the way, one of his affiliates took him up on his offer, and once they found out about Quando Rondo's whereabouts, they carefully planned out how they would catch him. Lil Durk's affiliate found other men who were willing to get their hands dirty. So with the help of Lil Durk, they flew from Chicago all the way to California to execute Quando. Once they got Quando's live location, the man tailed him all the way to a gas station near the Gold Coast. And once Quando's Escalade stopped for fuel, the four men got out of their white Infiniti and they opened fire. While he was the intended target, Quando did not get hit and he actually managed to drive away. But he had to stop because of his cousin. Quando wasn't alone that day, as he was with his cousin, a man named Lil Pop. And since Pop was out of the car once they started shooting, it was much easier to shoot him. That's why moments after the paramedics arrived, they pronounced him dead on the scene, leaving Quando Rondo in absolute shock. Even though they failed to get Quando, the mere fact that they got someone who was so close to him was just as good, because now Quando would know just how Lil Durk felt when King Von died. After the hit, Lil Durk paid everyone involved and they all went their separate way. Lil Pop's death was enough for Durk, so much that he stopped putting attempts on Quando's life and instead, he tried to focus more on his own career. He had a collab with J. Cole for his song All My Life, which actually won him a Grammy.
And the Grammy goes to All My Life, Lil Durk featuring J. Cole.
And to kick 2024 off with a bang, he married his longtime girlfriend India Royale in a private ceremony. If he wasn't winning enough, he then went on to receive not one but two keys to the city. Sadly though for Durk, this would be short-lived as one of his keys would be revoked due to his past coming back to haunt him.
Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder-for-hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Durk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused and taking part in that murder-for-hire plot. Now, the plot targeted rapper Quando Rondo's cousin, who was killed in 2022. Investigators believe it was retaliation for the earlier murder of Chicago rapper King Von.
On October the 24th, 2024, Lil Durk would be arrested on murder-for-hire charges in connection to the Lil Pop shooting. It turns out that the men Lil Durk hired were terrible at their job because the car they used for the murder was rented out using a real name, and all the fights they booked were paid for using a company credit card. So it was very easy to tie everything back to Lil Durk. And since he was arrested on his way to an airport where he booked flights to Dubai and Switzerland, he was seen as a flight risk, so he was denied bail. As of now, the case hasn't officially started, but when it does, he might be facing the death penalty. So Lil Durk just might be meeting King Von sooner than expected. Quando's life after the King Von incident wasn't easy. Because as I mentioned in our previous case with Lil Durk, Quando had a massive target on his back. That's why death threats became a normal thing to him.
How do you feel about when you get death threats? You know, whenever you walk out your house, you know, or you get on Instagram, you got people commenting under your post and, you know, sending you death threats. How they make you feel? Do that make you feel down sometimes?
Big boy,
Do that shit focus your energy?
check this out. However some shit come to me, that's how I'm about to go about that shit.
With the amount of danger his life was in, he became a liability. That's why he struggled to get bookings.
Big
Cancel
boy,
your show.
nobody wanna book me cause they terrified. That's the truth. Big boy, man, so many people calling like,
As I mentioned earlier, the death threats would come to fruition and an attempt was made on his life. But instead of putting his gun up, he decided to put his flag down and leave the street life for good.
realization, what you realize. I done realized certain stuff and been like, man, I don't care about us, man. We from down south. They just want to use us.
Just because he was done with the street life doesn't mean the courts were willing to let him go that quickly. As on December the 8th, 2023, he was arrested on drug charges, which he pleaded not guilty to, and days later, he would bond out with $100K. His freedom, however, did not last long, as he would later get booked on a RICO indictment. He was accused of violating the Controlled Substances Act and violating the Street Gang Terrorism Act. The court papers allege that on June the 4th of that year, Quando and his co-conspirators would travel to Georgia to purchase marijuana with an intent to distribute. He was also accused of trying to sell other substances such as meth and fentanyl. And since the FBI would get involved in the case, Quando didn't want to put up much of a fight. That's why he decided to change his plea and plead guilty.
Our top story at 6, Taekwon Bowman, better known as the Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, pleading guilty to a federal drug charge in court. He now could face a sentence of up to 5 years in prison.
Quando claimed that he was a changed man and he was ready to change his ways.
You know, I just want everybody to know, man, I'm a changed person. I'm changing every day, and God got the last say so.
Quando was fined $40K and sentenced to 33 months in prison as well as 3 years probation, with his release date estimated to be before May 2027, meaning he might be coming home a little after NBA Youngboy. While Youngboy was one of the most important pieces in this whole story, he wasn't very active. Apart from his diss tracks, Youngboy didn't get his hands dirty in any way, likely due to the fact that he was still on house arrest. And since he never physically got active in the war, he was more open to ending it. Once the beef died down, Gilly from $1 Million Worth of Game asked if both Youngboy and Durk could do a show together to squash their beef. Youngboy replied saying that he wouldn't have any problems doing the show, other than the fact that he was on house arrest.
LG, man, I talk to Durk like every 2-3 nights, man. He be trying to talk to me about my music, and he focused on $1 billion right now. You let them, get him to let me out this house. I hit that stage for you.
Keep in mind, this was before Lil Durk was accused of plotting to kill Quando Rondo, so I'm not sure if NBA Youngboy still wants to get cool with him. But even if he wanted to, he cannot do it from behind bars. NBA Youngboy allegedly stole the identity of a doctor so he could acquire prescription drugs. Youngboy would call local pharmacies pretending to be an elderly woman in need of prescription drugs. So he would send his female associates to pick up the meds on his behalf using a fake prescription that they obtained with the credentials of a real doctor. Youngboy managed to get away with the scheme a few times until one pharmacy got suspicious and called the police. As soon as Youngboy's female associates came to collect the meds, they were taken into custody. Youngboy tried to get them out of jail, but this was a big mistake because he would call the police pretending to be the elderly woman who he ordered the drugs as. But the police immediately realized that the voice was being faked, so they got a search warrant and they went to his home. During their search, the police found multiple prescription drugs that were purchased using fake names, as well as a firearm registered to his girlfriend. But since he was a convicted felon, he was not allowed to be around any weapons. And because of all the evidence they found, Youngboy was brought in. NBA Youngboy would reach a deal with the prosecution and he pleaded guilty. He was forced to pay a $200K fine and he needed to serve 23 months in prison and he received 5 years of probation. At first, he was scheduled to be released in November 2026, but since he already had time served, his jail sentence was cut down to July 2025. But miraculously, it got cut down again and he was released on the 24th of March. So it looks like NBA Youngboy was the only man in the story to receive a happy ending.